Hello, I'm Morteza Kordi, and in this tutorial, we are going to create a specific calculator in Android. So here, because the course is being updated and we want to add tutorials about Android 8 Oreo to the course, this application that we are going to build is going to be compatible with the newest Android version, which is going to be Android 8. So let's create a new Android Studio project, and here the application name is going to be P Calculator. So the name is going to be P Calculator, and here you can specify the company domain, package name, and project location. So just click on next, and here for the minimum SDK, choose API 16 Android 4.1 Jelly Bean for phone and tablet. Next. So here choose basic activity. You can see this floating action button here. Choose this one, this template, and then click on next. And here you can specify the activity name. So the activity name here is going to be main activity, and the main activity is going to be the starting point of our application. Here you can specify the layout name, title, and the menu resource name. So you're going to learn all about these layouts and activities later in this course, but for now let's actually leave them as default and just click on finish. So here now the project is created, and now here you can see this is the layout, the main layout actually, and here on the left hand side you can see the structure of the project, the project files and resources, and here you can see the palette. So here we can actually add the specific components to our layout. We have actually the properties. So I'll talk more about this later. But for now, let me show you the activity underline main.xml here. So on the left hand side, you can see these files here. This is actually the Android view. If it is not Android, you need to actually change it to Android by clicking on these two little triangles here, and then click on Android. So here it is the Android view. And if this view is actually collapsed here, so for example, if I click on if I double click on this content underline main.xml here, now you can see that the structure of the project is actually collapsed and we cannot see those files and resources. So if it is collapsed, you can actually click on this project here, this button here on the left hand side, it says project, in order to expand it. And now you can see these files here. So now let's double click on this activity underline main.xml here. So here you can see that we have this layout. In the componentry section, you can see that it says we have a coordinator layout. Inside this coordinator layout, we have this app bar layout. So here it is the app bar layout with the color blue. And we have this toolbar. So this toolbar is inside this app bar layout. We have this include tag that actually contains content underline main.xml. So inside this layout folder, you can see that we have two files, two XML files. The first one is activity underline main.xml, and the second file is content underline main.xml. This activity underline main.xml actually includes content underline main.xml. So that's why you can see this include tag here. It says include @layout / content underline main.xml. And we have this floating action button here. It says fab floating action button. So you can actually use this button later, but let's actually delete it. We do not need it here in this application. So you can just select it and then press on delete key on your keyboard. So make sure that you are inside this activity underline main.xml, not this one, content underline main.xml. So now let me show you that inside this activity underline main.xml, we cannot interact with this hello world text view here. You can see this hello world text here, right? It is actually a text view, and we cannot interact with this one because this hello world text view is inside this content underline main.xml. So let's switch to content underline main.xml. So inside this here, this view, Android view, you can double click on this content underline main.xml. So now let me double click on this tab content underline main.xml in order to make this area wider. So now I can interact with this hello world text view. I can select it and then press on delete key on my keyboard. And at the bottom, you can see that we have two tabs. We have the design tab and we have the text tab. Let's switch to text tab. And here we have this Android.support.constraint layout as the top layout. So because we haven't still actually learned about constraint layout so far, Let's change it to relative layout. Don't worry, in the later sections of this course, you are going to master constraint layout in Android. But for now, I just want you to use relative layout. So let's delete this android.support.constraint layout, and instead let's just type in here relative layout. And here inside this ending tab, we have this relative layout. So here you can see some attributes. The first one is the XML namespace, which has to be here. And we have the XML namespace again for the app, XML namespace for the tools. So don't worry about these values. You don't have to actually work with these values here, but we have these other attributes. We have Android layout width, which is actually match parent. What does match parent mean? Match parent means, so here at the right hand side, you can see this preview button here. If I click on it, you can see this preview of our layout, which is now a relative layout. So what is this layout width? Layout width determines the width of the layout, which is now a relative layout. So I want the relative layout here, the width of this relative layout, to take the entire width of the screen. So for that, we use match parent. And I also want this relative layout to take the entire height of the screen. So by screen, I mean the screen of the user's device. Okay? So layout height, match parent. And here we have the layout behavior. So don't worry about this layout behavior for now. And we have this one, the context. Again, the context is com.example.morteza.PC calculator.main activity. For you, this value may be actually different because you are using a different package or maybe a different project name. But here you can see that we have this main activity. We have an activity that controls this layout. So this main activity.java actually controls this layout. So that's why you can see that it is actually main activity here. So the context is this one. And here it says tools show in activity underline main. So this says that we are actually using this layout inside another activity, which is actually activity underline main.xml. So remember that I told you that activity underline main.xml actually includes this content underline main.xml. So don't worry about these attributes. I just wanted to introduce you to some XML codes here. Let's switch to the design tab. Now, with this design tab, we can design our layout. So we want to create a calculator application, right? So for that, first of all, we can say that we need to have a text view. So let's drag this text view and let's put it here at the top and at the center of this relative layout. And let's select it. So if you select this text view, on the right hand side, you can see this properties section. We have the ID, layout width, layout height. You can see these attributes, right? We have the text of the text view, the content description, the visibility. So for now, let's change the text of this text view. Let's say that here, I want to show the user the name of the application. The name of the application is P Calculator, right? And then press an enter key on your keyboard. So the size is actually not the one that I want. So let's increase the size. Let's increase the size of the font of this text view. So inside this properties section, we don't have an attribute that actually allows us to change the size of this text view. At the bottom, you can see that it says view all properties. Let's click on it. Now we can see all the properties that are related to this text view because we selected this text view. For example, if I actually click on somewhere empty inside this layout here, we are actually selecting this relative layout, and the properties here are context sensitive. What does that mean? That means that because now the relative layout inside this componentry section, you can see that the relative layout is selected. Because now the relative layout is selected, the properties that are shown here are actually related to this relative layout, not this text view. So in order to see the properties that are related to this text view, we need to select this text view. And now we can see the properties that are related to this text view. So now I want to actually increase the text size of this text view. So we have a property for that. In order to search for a property inside this property section, you just need to select one of these properties And now I can search for a specific property by just typing on my keyboard. I can say text, just type in here text size. Now you can see some properties with the name text size here. So let's scroll down here in order to find the text size attribute, this one. Now here inside this actually edit empty text view here, I can enter a value, right? This edit text actually, or text field. I can enter a value, so I can say, for example, I want the text size of this text view to be, for example, 40, and then press an enter key on your keyboard, right? Or for example, I can change the text color of this text view. So we have a property for that, this one, text color. And here, if I click on this ellipsis button here, now it's gonna actually show us this window. And here, I just need to click on this color tab, and I can select one of these colors. I can say, for example, hollow orange light, and then press an enter key on your keyboard, right? And here, I can also change the background color of this text view. So select this text view, and let's search for the background attribute. So here I can find this background attribute, and here, let's click on this ellipsis button, color, and let's say that the background attribute of background color of this text view is going to be black, and then click on OK. So now you can see this text view here, right? So now I want to add another text view into our layout. So inside this palette section, just click on all, and then select this text view. And here, let's put it here, text view. Select this text view, and now I want to change the text of this text view. So here, I can select one of these attributes, and I can just search for text attribute. And now I can say, for example, enter percent, enter percent, dot, dot, dot. Or, no, don't put dot, dot, dot here, because this is just a text view. Just type in here, enter percent, colon, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now, let's change the place of this text view. So here it is our text view. So now let's change the text size of this text view. So again, let's search for the text size attribute. Select this text view, and let's search for the text size attribute. And here it is the text size. So let's change the text size of this text view to 20. And now I can actually put an edit text here beside this text view. So what is an edit text? An edit text is actually a text field that actually allows us to enter a value. So here inside this palette section, let's select this text here, and let's drag this plain text and put it here beside this enter text view. So let's change the place of this edit text. So now let's select this edit text, and here let's find the text attribute of this edit text, and let's delete this name value, and then press on enter key on your keyboard. Now we can add a hint. A hint is actually a text that is inside this edit text, and the moment that the user starts typing on this edit text, and the moment the user starts entering a value, that hint is going to be disappeared. So let's find the hint attribute. So now let's find it. So here it is, the hint attribute, and here we can enter a hint, but because we have a text view that shows the user what value should be entered inside this edit text, we do not have to do that. Actually, it's better to not to use a hint here, because we are using a text view. According to the design rules, it's better not to use a hint. But here, for educational purposes, I want to show you what is this hint. So now let's select this edit text in order to see the properties of this edit text here. And let's search for the hint attribute again. So here it is, the hint attribute, and just type in here, enter percent, dot, 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 and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now you can see this hint here, this value. So we need another text view. So inside this palette section, click on all, and then select this text view and just drag it here and put it below this enter percent text view. And Now let's change the text of this text view. So just type in here text in order to find the text attribute. And for the text value, just type in here, enter your number. Enter your number, colon, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So let's change the text size of this enter your number text view, text size. So the size is going to be 20, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So here, let's drag an edit text here into our layout. So inside this palette section, just click on text and then drag this plain text here and put it beside this edit text view here. Let's decrease the width of this edit text. You can actually select this handler and just decrease the width of this edit text. You can also select this edit text and then here search inside this properties section. You can see this layout width. So we can say that the layout width is, for example, 30, and then press an enter key on your keyboard. You can see now that width of this edit text is actually changed. Let's change it to 50, or we can say, for example, 100, or maybe 200. So let's change it to, for example, 180. So let's put it here. Okay. So here it is, our edit text, and let's select it and let's find the text attribute. So let's search for the text attribute. And here let's delete this name value and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So let's give a hint to this edit text. And for the hint, just type in here, enter number, ... and then press an enter key on your keyboard. So now, if in order to run the application, in order to see how our layout is actually designed, we can actually click on this play button here at the top. And now you can see that these devices here, you can only see a device here if you have already created an emulator. If you don't have any devices, if you don't have already created an emulator, you need to create a new one. You can see this button here, it says create new virtual device. And it's always better to choose Nexus 5 or Nexus 5X. I prefer to choose Nexus 5X. And then you just need to click on next. And here, you need to choose API level 26 because we are targeting the newest version of Android API, Android 8, Android Oreo. If you don't see this API level, this means that you have not still actually downloaded the latest API version. So let me click on cancel, and here, let me show you how we can download the newest Android SDK, newest Android API version actually. So at the top here, if you are using a Mac, you just need to click on this Android Studio and then click on Preferences. And if you're using a Windows machine, you just need to click on this file here at the top and then click on Settings or Preferences. So let's click on Android Studio and then click on Preferences. So here you can see that I have already opened this Android SDK. So you just need to open this Android Appearance and Behavior. Okay. And if you open it, you can actually see that we have this system settings. Open this system settings. And here we have this Android SDK. So we have three tabs here: SDK platforms, SDK tools, SDK update sites. So click on this SDK platforms here. At the bottom, you can see this option. It says show package details. Let's check this checkbox here. So you can see that I have actually downloaded the Android 8.0 Android O. So you need to download all of these packages. So just check this checkbox and then click on apply. And then you just need to so let me show you how you can download it. So you can see that I actually downloaded Android 8 and Android 7.1.1 Android Nougat, right? And all of these packages. But assume that I want to download Android 5.1, right? Here I just need to click on apply. And it says the following components will be installed. I just need to click on OK. And it's going to start actually installing all of these packages for me. So because I don't want to use them, I just click on cancel. And here, let's click on SDK tools. So make sure that you download this one, support repository. This is very important. All of these packages should be installed. Make sure to download and install this HackXem installer if you have a system that uses Intel CPU. And here we can see that Android SDK build tools, Android emulator, Android SDK platform tools, Android SDK tools, Android support library. Make sure that these packages are installed and make sure to update them if you haven't already. So this is very important that you update all of these packages to the newest version, because always it's very important that you have the latest version of these packages so that you will not encounter any problems in the future. So that's it. And here, just click on OK. So now let me actually show you how you can create an emulator. So create new virtual device, Nexus 5X, next. So because I have already downloaded and installed this API level 26, I have Android O here. Just click on next. And here, this is going to be the AVD name. If you want to, you can change the name of the Android virtual device. And here, you can say that the startup orientation is portrait or landscape. So I choose portrait. And here, click on show advanced settings. So you can see that it says camera, front back emulator, speed full, latency none. And here, RAM, VM heap, internal storage. All of these values are set for us automatically. We don't have to worry about these values, and you just need to click on finish. So here, because I have already created one, I don't have to create a new one. I just need to select this one and then click on OK. So now it's going to actually run this application on my virtual device, but we have a problem. So the moment that I actually started to run the application, it actually shows us an error. It says error cannot find symbol variable fab floating action button. So remember earlier in this tutorial, inside the activity underlying method.xml here, we actually deleted the floating action button. But here inside this main activity.java file, we have some codes that are related to the floating action button. And if there is no floating action button inside the activity underlying method.xml, there is going to be a problem because these codes are related to that specific component. And if you delete that floating action button inside your layout, you also have to delete the codes that are related to that floating action button inside the main activity.java. So these are the Java codes, right? So here inside the main activity.java, here, if you cannot find the main activity.java, you just need to open the Android view. You can find the main activity.java inside this Java folder and inside this package, the first package, main activity.java. And here, inside this onCreate method, we can highlight all of these codes, this piece of code here, this block of code that is related to the floating action button, and then just press on delete key on your keyboard. Now I can run the app without any problems. Just select this emulator. If you want to, you can check this checkbox that says use same selection for future launches, so you don't have to see this window anytime that you want to run your application, and just click on OK. So let me show you the emulator. It is our emulator. You can see the name of the app, enter %, enter your number, right? So that's it. This is the design. Let's go back to Android Studio. Let's go back to content underlying method.xml here. Let's switch tab and let's go inside this file. And here, I want to add actually a button, right? So here inside this palette section, just click on all and just select this button. And here, just put it here at the center of this layout. If you want to, you can put it anywhere you want, but I prefer to put it inside at the center of this layout. Select this button. So now let's change the text of this button. So select one of these attributes here inside this properties section and just search for text. So you can see this text attribute, and for the text, just type in here, calculate the result. And then press on enter key on your keyboard. So let's also change the background color. I don't like the background color of this button. So here, let's search for the background attribute and let's click on this ellipsis button, color. So for the background, let's choose this one, this hollow purple. Click on OK. And let's change the text color of this button. Let's search for the text color attribute. And here, click on this ellipsis button, color, And let's click on this Holo Blue Bright. Click on OK. Just a fancy color, so I like it. Okay, and now I can actually drag a text view in order to show the result to the user. So here inside this palette section, click on all, select this text view and just put it here below this button. And now I want to change the layout width of this button to match parent. So select this text view, and for the layout width here, you can see this attribute here, layout width, and click on this little triangle in order to see the other options, match parent. So I don't like the fact that this text here inside this text view is at the left hand side of this text view. I want this text to be on the center, at the center of this text view. So select this text view. Inside this properties section, just search for gravity attribute. So here it is, the gravity attribute. Open it and just select this checkbox that says center. So now the text is at the center of this text view. So what is gravity attribute? The gravity attribute determines the place, the position of the children of a specific layout. So we have a text view. The text view is a layout, right? And I want to change the child, which is going to be the text inside this text view, right? The child is text. I want to change the position of this child, which is the text. So I choose the gravity attribute. The gravity determines the place or the position of the child of a layout. So here it is, our gravity. And we also have the layout gravity that determines the position of the layout itself inside the parent. So I'll talk more about these attributes, the gravity, layout gravity, later in this course. You are going to master them. But for now, I just wanted to introduce you to the gravity attribute. So I don't like the text size of this text view. So let's search for the text size attribute. And here, let's change the text size to 30 and then press an Enter key on your keyboard. And let's change the text of this text view here. So let's search for the text attribute. Here it is, the text, and I can say result. So here it is, the result, and then press an Enter key on your keyboard. And let's change the background color of this text view. And here, click on this ellipsis button, color. So here we can actually search for a new color. So I think this one is cool. Let's choose this one and then click on OK. And let's change the text color of this text view. So text color. And the text color is going to be white. So choose this one and then press an Enter key on your keyboard. So now let's run the app. Let me show you the emulator. So here it is, our design. But I also don't like the color of this toolbar here at the top. So in order to change the color of this toolbar, we need to go inside this activity underline.xml here. So switch to the activity underline.xml and select this toolbar. So in order to change the background color of this toolbar, we need to select this app bar layout, because this app bar layout is the actually layout that contains this toolbar. So select this app bar layout, and here let's click on this view all properties and let's search for the background attribute. So here let's change the background color to black and then click on OK. So let's also change the background color of this toolbar. So select this toolbar, and here let's search for the background attribute and click on this black color here. Let's scroll to the top, black, and then click on OK. So now you can see that the background color of this toolbar here is actually changed to black. So we also have to change the background color of this app bar layout and the background color of this toolbar. So now let's run the application. Let me show you the emulator. And now you can see that the background color of this toolbar is changed. And here it is, the name of the application. So here it is, the design. In the next tutorial, we're going to continue building this application, and I am going to show you how you can connect the code to our views inside our layout. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.